Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Andrew and thanks for coming back to the channel and tuning in to this new video. Now this video will be kind of like a part 2 of the last video that I did where I ranked all the Eastern Conference teams in the NBA. This video I'll be ranking all the Western Conference teams in the NBA based on how I think they will do in the upcoming season, the 2021-22 season. As you can see, I have my tiers right here: title contenders, playoff lock, play-in teams, and lottery teams. So before we get into everything, make sure to leave a like on the video, share and subscribe, greatly appreciated. And if you're curious about anything I do outside of YouTube, make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram at SportsBookCasually. Now you guys already know how this works, so let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into ranking these Western Conference teams. So, the first team right off the bat, we have the Dallas Mavericks. Coming off another first round exit versus the Clippers, a series where Luka was amazing and Tingus Pingus was not. And in the offseason, extended Luka, re-signed Tim Hardaway Jr. and Boban, good moves. They also brought in some nice young guys, Moses Brown and Sterling Brown, no relation. I guess the biggest free agency signing was Reggie Bullock, who's a decent player. And in terms of their losses in players, the biggest loss was Josh Richardson, a guy they traded for to see if that experiment would work, and it didn't. But this team is going through some major changes with their head coach and general manager. Carlisle and Nelson have both left and resigned, very suspicious after the same season. And you have Jason Kidd as their head coach, very, very suspect given his track record. And I think Nico Harrison or something like that as the new general manager. It's kind of difficult, We really don't know how this team would perform with Luka Doncic at the helm, especially since they didn't really get him too much help. Another superstar, another co-star. We already seen that the Kristaps Porzingis experiment has not gone well at all. Ooh, I know it's like the first team we're doing, but hot take alert. I think the Mavericks will be come on. God, I hate using max. A play-in team. Okay, now let me explain. They were the 5th seed last season, but there wasn't anything much separating them from the play-in tournament. And this team has not really gotten better unless Luka takes another massive step into the MVP conversation. I don't see this team, jumping up into the top 4 in the West this year. And I think the West got a lot better, especially top heavy, and the bottom teams who were in that kind of play-in category have caught up. Now on to the second team, we have the Denver Nuggets, the team with the reigning defending MVP, Nikola Jokic. Love that guy, by the way. I guess their postseason ended kind of in lackluster affair, getting swept by the Suns, but they didn't have Jamal Murray for that. And they also did survive a belter of a first round versus the Blazers. But hopefully Murray's coming back healthy. I'm not sure if he's going to be starting at the beginning of the season. He probably comes in halfway through next season. But in the offseason, they locked up their core. They re-signed Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. They also re-signed JaMychal Green, and Marcus Howard is a guy who I think will have a decent season for them. Hopefully get more playing time. He's a bucket getter and he's a short king, so I have to stick up for them. They lost Paul Millsap, which I think is a big blow. He was a big part of what this team has been able to do for the past few seasons. I don't think they're a title contender just yet. I have to see how Murray comes back from his injury, and if Porter Jr. takes a next jump, hopefully defensively. But it's safe to say they're not a title contender, but for me, they're a playoff lock. Now we move on to the Golden State Warriors. They lost both their play-in games last season, but Steph Curry did finish third in MVP voting. And, in the offseason, they decided to get the band back together. Steph Curry, who signed an extension. You have Klay Thompson coming back from injury for the first time in 2 years. I think around December, January. Hope all goes well with him. Draymond Green, and not to mention they also they also signed Andre Iguodala.
I want Iguodala.
And also what I like about what the Warriors offseason, they were able to get a lot of depth guys, because this was also a main problem with this team last season. They had a lack of depth. Galloway, you have Bielitsa, you got in Porter Jr., and you also bought in Avery Bradley. Fun facts, Avery Bradley is the first NBA player I ever met like face to face. He did a basketball camp here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I went and volunteered. Super nice guy, so I always hope for the best for him. So I hope he has a great season this year. But yeah, and they also have two great rookies in Kuminga and Moody that should provide a lot of depth for this team. And you also pull Juan Toscano Anderson, goated already by the Warrior fans. So yeah, I think they're not the types of contenders they used to be in the latter half of the 2010s, but for me, they are a playoff lock. Now we move on to the Houston Rockets, a team that has a lot of rookies on their team. Jalen Green, Garuba, Sengun, and they hope that they pair well with Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. So this team is fairly young. Just trying to work things out and see how everything goes, how the talent goes. It's still a lottery team, I don't think they could creep into the play-ins just yet. Maybe give it a season or two before they're back in the playoffs, but they're still a lottery team by my odds. But I do think a big three of Christian Wood, Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green is, nothing to sneeze at. And now we move on to the Los Angeles Clippers. They made their first Western Conference Finals appearance last year in the playoffs, so good for them. Although Kawhi Leonard did go down with a big knee injury and should miss most of, if not all of the season, this upcoming season. So it's going to be weird. Paul George is going to be the guy. I think they're mainly running it back with the main core from last, especially in the playoff runs. Paul George, they resigned Reggie Jackson, resigned Nicholas Batum. You have the Morris twin. I keep forgetting. Is it Marcus on that? Marcus, yes. Terrence Mann, who should break out again this season. They also resigned Amir Coffey, who I like and I think is a good young guy for them. Hopefully he has a bigger role on this team this season. It is going to be weird seeing this team without, Patrick Beverley. Then again, he was barely healthy, so I guess it won't be that weird at all. But without Kawhi Leonard, I don't think this team is expected to have the title aspirations it had when they first linked up Leonard and Paul George together a few seasons ago. But they're not going to go straight into rebuilding and a lottery team. They still have Paul George. They still have a lot of talented guys on that team. Brought in a lot of good depth guys, especially at the center position. Going to put them as a playing team. I'm going to put them as a playing team, And now we move on to the Clippers' next door neighbors, the Lakers. And, alright, this team just had like a batshit crazy offseason. Dog, just look how many players they bought in. Like, it's mental. And, they did the Westbrook trade. I didn't really like it. I'm kind of up and down on Westbrook. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on him, but I just think, a guy that needs the ball in his hands so much, and LeBron also needs the ball in his hands so much, it's be an awkward fit. Then again, LeBron is getting older and he can't do everything anymore. But, Westbrook isn't a spring chicken anymore. Okay, let me just do this. They're easy title to contender for me. Because if this team is healthy, not only are they deep, but they still have the greatest player in the NBA right now, to me, in LeBron James. I think until he retires, he'll still be the greatest player. I can never doubt a LeBron James team until either he's knocked out of the playoffs or he doesn't qualify. I can't doubt a LeBron-led team. So they're my first title contenders for the Western Conference. And now we move on to another team that had a absolutely insane offseason in the Memphis Grizzlies. Dog, this team made I want to say like 5 trades. Like, and I think they were all in like quick succession of each other. And like they did all those trades and they didn't get better to me. I mean, you gave away Jonas Valanciunas, who was your second best player, and on some nights your best player. You gave them to the Pelicans for, it was Bledsoe and then Steven Adams. Then you flipped Bledsoe for Patrick Beverley. Gave away Grayson Allen too, let's not forget. You know, he's a dickhead, but he was a decent shooter. So it's a lot more pressure on Ja to be great, and Jaren Jackson Jr., who's supposed to be hopefully fully healthy going into this season. But yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't think Memphis got any better. I think all these trades and they still got worse. And it's a crucial time because, you know, you want your young core to develop and push further into the playoffs. And I don't see that happening this season. Could be wrong, but to me, all the moves they made, they went backwards. I think the Grizzlies will be a lottery team. Now we move on to a team that knows a lot about the NBA lottery, the Minnesota Timberwolves. First of all, didn't like the Ricky Rubio trade to the Cavaliers. You know, I'm a Ricky Rubio stan though. You know, they got in Patrick Beverley, a couple of rookies, you know, Taurean Prince. I think what this team is hoping for is that Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Anthony Edwards are all healthy. And God, what's that guy's name that got locked up? Malik Beasley, you know, just to not do any more dumb shit. Because when the big three was healthy for them, they played very well. I think they were above 500 when they played games with each other. So that being said, if this team is healthy, also they resigned Jared Vanderbilt and Jordan McLaughlin. Also love Jordan McLaughlin. You know, great passer and is a fellow short king. So hope he has a big role on this team again. I am going to go out on a limb here saying that if healthy, the Timberwolves have a chance to make the playoffs. They will be in the play-in. They will be a play-in team. And now we move on to a team that's absolutely dying for quick success, and that's the New Orleans Pelicans. You know, their first overall pick a few years ago, Zion Williamson, been very impressive, but no postseason success. A lot of turmoil in terms of the general manager. I think it's going on his third head coach this season. He wants out, you know, it's easy to see. So they're desperate to get to the playoffs or have a deep playoff run or just anything positive, really. Just to be like, oh, Zion, you know, we're doing something. And, you know, the offseason was rough. Lost Lonzo Ball. Bledsoe, Adams, wasn't really too much. Jonas Valanciunas should be a good defensive center, and he can space the floor a bit. He wasn't shooting much threes, but he can shoot threes. So that'll leave space for Zion to dominate on offense, while he can stay out the paint in defense because, you know, he's a horrible defender. They got Devontae Graham, good passer, good three-point shooter, but high volume three-point shooter, and is inefficient anywhere inside the three-point line. But I still think they're a lottery team. They haven't really done much to say like, yo, we're making steps in the right direction. I think it's like they take 2 steps forward and then some shit happens and they take 2 steps back. But no, your third head coach and your third season, that's absolutely rough. Now let's move on to the team that's destined to have all the lottery picks at some point in the future, the Oklahoma City Thunder. This one's not going to be hard for me. Yeah, they're a lottery team, you know. They're really just looking to get young talent, get first round picks and develop them. Off season was good in terms of they have a lot of nice rookies to deal with. Let's hope Trey Mann and Josh Giddey play very well for them, and they show promise to move on with this young core of SGA, who did sign an extension, and Lou Dort. I really want to see a lot from Darius Beasley this season. You know, he hasn't been good. So let's hope this season he plays decently. You know, asking a lot of him at this point. But yeah, Rebuilding team, easy to see. Probably gonna get 4 more first round picks before the end of the season. Just knowing them. Alright, now on the home stretch, last 5, let's go. To the Phoenix Suns. Ooh, the team that represented the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. We signed CP3, which kind of had to because he led your team to the promised land and just a few games short of the Bucks. This is pretty easy for me. The Suns, are trying to contend in the West. I mean, if you look at the offseason, all the players they got versus the ones they've lost, they got a lot better. They didn't lose too much. They're able to build depth. Although losing Javon Carter, you know, short king, could defend really well. But, I mean, you have a lot of shooters. You have decent defenders. This team is a lot deeper. I think that'll come into play and will be a good part and a good reason why the Suns can make the NBA Finals next season, you know, if the stars align and they do what they're supposed to. And now we move on to the Portland Trail Blazers. Free Dame, dog. Nah, you know, I was on the free Damian Lillard bandwagon for a couple of seasons, but, you know, this season it's a lot of hope for them. They got rid of Terry Stotts. Thank God, he was awful, wasn't he? They bought in Chauncey Billups. They gave my boy Stormer Norman the bag, dog. You know, I really appreciate that. Miss you, Norman. Miss you, bro. But yeah, and they bought in a lot of good role players and a lot of decent defenders. Larry Nance Jr., great role player, decent defender. Cody Zeller, who looks like he's like 40, but I just found out a few days ago he is actually like now 29. It's the receding hairline for me, the balding for me. Also bought in Tony Snell, you know, the greatest shooter ever. And it's not much. No, not to mention a guy to look out for on their roster, Marquise Chris. He had a good season with the Warriors 2 years ago, but last season he got injured. But I think he'll have a good season for them, you know, coming off the bench. A starting lineup of Dame, CJ, Norman Powell, Covington, and Nurkic. And you know, when you have those guys like Nance, Zeller, Chris, oh god, what's that guy who's in the dunk contest? Simons coming off the bench. This team looks good, and I think it's the best team. I mean, since the Western Conference Finals, of course, but over the last few seasons, the best team they've rolled out so far. So yeah, a lot of things to look forward to in Portland. So they're definitely a playoff lock. Dame for MVP? Who knows? And now we move on to probably the most disappointing franchise in NBA history, the Sacramento Kings. And this isn't going to take long. Yes, they're a lottery team. You know why? Because I won't ever trust a team that is coached by Luke Walton. Yo, fuck Luke Walton. All my homies hate Luke Walton. Like, he's so bad and he's still employed. I don't understand. And Rashawn Holmes, you and me have beef, sir. Like, you know, I really wanted you to sign with the Raptors, and you have the boldness, the unmitigated gall to resign with the Kings, dog. You have no self-respect. We enemies for life. But yeah, we signed Terrence Davis. White Peter. Drafted Davion Mitchell, who looks like a lockdown defender. It's just, they're kind of just rolling out the same team for the past few seasons. You know, you have Barnes, you have Bagley, big disappointment. Holmes, I mean, Holmes is still pretty good, but still, they didn't really do anything to get better. So they go back in the lottery and hopefully fire Luke Walton at the end of the season. And now we move on to the San Antonio Spurs. Ooh, it's going to be weird seeing the Spurs. You know, not good. I mean, it's been a couple of seasons, but still, not accustomed to it. But yeah, full-on rebuild at this point. I mean, they're still going to try to be competitive, but they lost DeRozan, they lost Gay, they lost Patty Mills. It's just, I mean, you have Jakob Poeltl, you have DeJounte Murray on this team, but just mainly unproven guys. They have Thaddeus Young, but it's easy pick for me. This team is going to be a lottery team. And now we have the final team in the Western Conference, the Utah Jazz. You know, they had the first seed last season and got unceremoniously bounced out in the second round in the Clippers in a very embarrassing Game 6 where their Supermax player Rudy Gobert was played off the court. But, I mean, kind of an uneventful off-season in terms of players. I mean, you resigned Mike Conley, you got Eric Pascal, got Hassan Whiteside. But, I mean, you know, you didn't really lose anybody that was that important for you. And if that's the case, there's still a playoff lock. It's still going to be a great team. Like Donovan Mitchell is one of the best guards we have in the league right now. But I don't want to call him a title contender because we all saw how that played out last season. Houston, we have a problem. Not this Houston, but like the saying. I have too many teams in the lottery and I need one of them to go in the play-in. Fudge. Okay, let me see eliminate the teams that aren't gonna be playing teams. Rockets, no. Thunder, no. Kings, no. So it's between the Spurs, Grizzlies, and Pelicans. I don't think the Spurs have the coaching to match up against them, but not the talent at the moment. So let's X off the Spurs, and now it's just going to be between the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. Okay, I ranted about the Pelicans a lot, but compared to, you know, the bottom of the barrel, they're not that bad. You still have Zion Williamson, you still have Brandon Ingram, hopefully Devontae Graham, good playmaker and can actually be efficient when he's shooting inside the 3-point line. Jonas Valanciunas will be a weird role for him to adapt, you know, with him spacing more, but hopefully he's going to take on a more defensive identity and will still be a presence in the paint. They also have Josh Hart. They bought him back. I just think that the Grizzlies just did so much, like yeah, and they got worse. I mean, you know, the Pelicans did a lot as well, but at least it's debatable whether they got worse or better. Unlike the Grizzlies, where I think it's consensus where they got worse. So, winner, chicken dinner. The New Orleans Pelicans will be a play-in team. Alright guys, that is the end of this video. This is how I have my tier list set up. I mean, in my last video in the Eastern Conference one, I had 3 title contenders in the East. This video, I only have 2 in the West. I don't know, I just don't think that the playoff teams took that extra step to make them title contenders. So I'm very comfortable having only 2 title contenders in the West. If you have more, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot of things that you might disagree with in this video, which team should go where, I would love to hear all about it in the comments below. But guys, as I said, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and you enjoy your day.